possible that in under 6 hours, Big Man Sweep turned into Big Man Weep? How is it possible that in under 6 hours, Team Scissors went from first place to last place in the Splatfest for Splatoon 3's world premiere? Well, I think it's maybe because 80% of Big Man fans aren't actually subscribed to my channel. But the more likely candidate for the reason why Team Scissors went from first place to last place is because TriColor battles are rigged. But are they actually? That's something I'd like to talk about today. So hello, ladies and gentlemen, and all the core gamers out there. CAJman777 here, and welcome to a discussion video on TriColor battles for Splatoon 3. Now, I have to go out on record and say that I absolutely loved TriColor battles. I was actually on Team Scissors for the entire Splatfest, and I didn't get a chance to see it from the other's perspective. But what I played in TriColor battles, once I got used to TriColor battles and I got used to how I needed to play with TriColor battles, and I brought a team on for TriColor battles were absolutely insane and awesome. I think TriColor, absolutely chaotic. Absolutely, but it's chaotic in a good way that it makes it really enjoyable. But I see a lot of people talking about TriColor battles and the fact that they might be rigged. And I necessarily don't think that is the case here. And I think there's a few reasons why. So starting first and foremost with the TriColor battles, the first thing I see is a problem with, okay, people couldn't queue for TriColor battles at their own whim. This is true. If you guys were playing on Team Scissors for the Splatfest, you did not have access to the third option on the Splatfest menu, which was known as TriColor battles. Your team was in first place, so you cannot select this. However, they may automatically trigger, oh, so the teams who are behind can only pick this. That's so interesting. Only the two teams that were behind in the rankings, which were Team Rock and Team Paper, were allowed to select this mode for TriColor battles, which forced all the members of Team Scissors to either play Splatfest Open or Splatfest Pro mode with about a 50-50 chance that they were going to be thrown into a TriColor battle. Whereas the members of Team Paper and Team Rock could queue up for this TriColor battle mode, specifically if they had one or two people, they had about a 90% chance of getting put into a TriColor battle against members of Team Scissors against their will. Is this a good idea? Personally, I think yes, and this is the reason why. As a member of Team Scissors, as the leading team, I understand defending is an important part of the TriColor battles. You want to have the chance for Team Scissors for Team Paper and Team Rock to come back and attempt to win this actual Splatfest. Now, the results were, right from the beginning, very close. It was a 2% difference in between all the groups, which, honestly, I feel like did kind of screw over the results rating a little bit for how close it was, because that's how Team Scissors went from first to last. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, where I think because the major results were so close, that's really what the big effectiveness was. But I think the main reason that only Team Rock and Team Paper members were able to queue up for this TriColor battles is because it's supposed to be a surprise for the defending team. The defending team on Team Scissors is not going to be ready for them to get put into a TriColor battle. Even if they had the option to be put into a TriColor battle, where if the defending team wins, they get more clout, which I will talk about in a little bit as well. But what it does is it puts the defenders constantly on edge. For example, the defenders had an opportunity, in this case it was Team Scissors, to queue up for TriColor battle modes on their own, knowing that they would be playing against two members of Team Paper and two members of Team Scissors, or two members of Team Rock. Would they actually choose to go into that mode when they could most likely get more clout in the 10x, 100x, or even 333x battles in the normal Splatfest? What would be the point of queuing up to defend if you knew you had to defend? And I think that's why Team Scissors was not able to pick this TriColor mode option. It was meant to be a surprise for the defenders, knowing, hey, I've got two teams on either side of me, and now I have to deal with it. So, personally, in my opinion, the problem with a lot of people are saying, oh, well, we were thrown into TriColor battles at random if we were on Team Scissors. That's the entire point of the Splatfest. Now, Where I think this can be a problem is when it comes to queuing up, when you get put into a TriColor match specifically. Are you put into a TriColor match with a couple of your friends on the defending side against two maybe pairs of Rock members and Paper members, for example, that might be coordinated? Or were you put into a team of 4 random defenders that had absolutely no idea what they were doing? This, I will say, is a problem in specific cases. When we went into TriColor battles, when I went into TriColor battles for the Splatfest, I'm going to go on record and say that I played 3 TriColor games solo, and I absolutely hated it. Immediately after I played my 3 TriColor games solo, I brought in 1 person to my call. And after a couple more games with having 1 person in my call from my Discord where we could coordinate and communicate, I brought 2 more friends onto my call. So we had a 4-team, a full stack of defenders for the TriColor battles when we got put into the TriColor matches. And the moment I added 1 other person, the TriColor matches got so much easier to understand, they got so much easier to communicate, and they got so much easier to win. When I full squatted with a full stack of my friends in the TriColor battles, we dropped 1 game in TriColor battles as Team Scissors. 1. Now that's just to show you and to explain to you how powerful coordination really is in TriColor battles. Obviously, were a lot of new people playing this Splatfest specifically. People who have maybe not played Splatoon for the first time ever. And they're getting thrown into a mode that nobody knows anything about other than it is essentially a 3-way turf war. The teams who are well coordinated, who are well versed in the competitive scene, or players who are well versed and well adequated with competitive scene and maps and modes, were going to fare better overall if they were solo queuing in TriColor battle. Now, I have very fair competitive knowledge in competitive scene. I played competitive Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 1 for multiple years. I played competitive Splatoon 2 almost its entire life cycle, and I'd like to get back into it with competitive Splatoon 3 as well. But what really kind of sucked is that when I did go into my TriColor battles, I got put in on the defending team with players that had absolutely no idea what they were doing. As an experienced player, not to sound mean, not to sound toxic, I would have rather had a coordinated team that knew what they were doing than 3 other Scissors players running around with silver trash cans. Not to say that actually happened, because it didn't, but like that's just an example to say that even though you have experience in a mode, in a mindset, solo queuing up for Splatfest battles, even in pro mode or open mode, solo queuing was gonna get you in trouble for the TriColor battles because you were gonna be put with people that you had no idea what they were possibly doing, which is a problem. The other problem comes with the lack of communication that comes with the TriColor battles, because you have a team coming from the left side and the right side. So even though it's on a familiar map for us Splatoon 2 veterans and Splatoon 1 veterans in the form of Sturgeon Shipyard, which is a map that a lot of the competitive players in Splatoon 2 and even coming from Splatoon 1 were familiar with, because that was a map mode combination that was played a bunch on the competitive side, and it was one of the best map mode combinations, like, in general for Splatoon 2's lifetime. The reason it was on Sturgeon Shipyard is because the callouts on that map are simpler. They're easier to understand. And when you have teammates or enemies coming from the left side and the right side, you can't just say, oh, they're coming from their spawn or they're coming from their spawn, because they're coming at you from 2 different sides. So how do you really coordinate and communicate? Well, first things first, going into solo queue, don't go into solo queue. If you are the leading Splatfest team, I'm just going to say that right now. If you are the leading Splatfest team, stack your odds as much as you can going into defense. Coordinate with your team, get a couple friends together, knowing that you will not have a choice but to, unfortunately, get pushed into TriColor battles at some point. That is just the long and short of it. That is how everything is going to be done. Now, if you do have a coordinated team and you are familiar with callouts, in order to keep everybody coordinated on the map, what I and my friends started to do, as you can see in a couple clips that I've been playing throughout this video already. All right, say what color side is pushing. Yellow, again, left, blue, right, for me at least. Let's say the color and where they're pushing. You notice that I'm not calling out specific locations of my opponents. While I am calling out specific locations on the map and of my opponents, if you notice, I'm not saying, hey, I have this player here. I'm calling out the color of the player and where they are. That way, you only have to focus on one color at a time. And it honestly calling out by colors and where they were located and what weapon they were was much easier than just saying, hey, I got one coming from their spawn. When there are teams coming from either side of you, what side's the spawn? While I do not like the fact that solo queue warriors were just being thrown into random TriColor battles, which definitely put them at a hugely unfair disadvantage because they were unable to communicate in a call. Unlike, you know, some of us who did decide to coordinate a call, like what I did with my Discord. It was much easier for us to be in a coordinated, communicative team than it was to be in solo queue. I never went back to solo queue after I played with my friends because it was so much easier to coordinate and communicate. The other problem with coordination and communication, of course, if you're solo queuing in general, comes with the fact that we only have this way, booyah, and ouch when you get splatted on the directional D-pad. There is no way in solo queue for you to communicate which side is pushing from air. There's no button on the left or right of the D-pad that says push this way or retreat this way, which honestly would have been really helpful in TriColor for those who are playing solo queue. That's kind of an oversight on Nintendo. I also think them doing the TriColor battles here was a little bit of an experience for the first time because they've never really done something like this before. So the Splatfest World Premiere was like a test to see how well it's actually balanced. And when it comes to balance, like I already said earlier, there was a 2% deficit between first, second, and third, at least in the NA region. It was Team Scissors in first with like 34%, Team Rock in second with 32%, or even 33%, and then it was like Team Rock with 32%. There was only like a 2% difference between all three teams, and this is where the next point kind of comes in, where the balance felt a little off, where this felt like a test, and it's the generalized point system of how the points are calculated when you're in a TriColor battle. So, first things first to note, if you are on the defending team for a TriColor battle, at most, even this is this might even be information for those of you who are on paper or rock here in this Splatfest, but if you're on the defending team, Team Scissors, and you won a match, at most, you got 3,000 clout for winning the match, plus your individual turf score, multiplied, of course, by the synergy of 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3, if your team had that synergy bonus. At maximum, after you add all these values up, that adds to about 5,000 to 7,000 clout. At maximum. If you're first place on your team. Because, as I said, each individual's turf inked gets added to your 3k clout for winning, multiplied by your synergy bonus, so that gives you a little bit extra depending on where you place in your team and how much turf matters. So when you add all those points up, first place at maximum gets about 5,000 or 6,000 points. Second place gets about 4,000 to 5,000. Third place on your team, depending on how much turf was in, gets probably about 3,000 to 4,000. And then the bottom gets about 2,000 to 3,000. And you can see this in a couple of these clips here. All right, let's keep going.
But I ran into while I was playing in EU as well.
Yeah, I know. That happens.
So
that's kind of a big thing on how the defenders work. Now, when the defenders lose, you only get clout based on the amount of turf that you specifically added. So you're still adding all your points. At the end of the day, though, if the defenders win, you add all your clout points cumulatively, and you get all of them. So at the end of the day, if you take around the maximums into account, if you're on the defending side and you're on the winning team, you do get probably around 12,000, 13,000 clout, which really isn't that bad. That's almost like winning just a normal 10x, just normally. However, this is where things get really weird, because when you're on the attack side, obviously the attackers are trying to work in coordination, and they are trying to stop you from the defenders from winning. They're trying to stop you from winning. They're trying to get as much points as they can. For attackers, every time an attacking team, didn't matter the team, won a match, you got 6,000 clout for the win. You add 2,500 per ultra signal you collected, which of course is worth 5,000 points if you collect both ultra signals. So you already have, at most, right now, if you're in first place on attack, 11,000 clout, plus the amount of attempts you tried to grab the ultra signal, which are worth 300 individual points each. The members of the attack teams will never, ever, ever as far as at least I'm aware and what I understand from what I was talking with my friend who played Team Rock for the EU portion of the Splatfest, but then played with Team Scissors for us for the NA portion, you will never ever have a crazy number like 4,653. It will always be a number that ends in a 0 or a 500. So that's one thing specifically for attack that you have to leave in mind. At most, the more times you go for the Ultra Signal, the better it is for your team. Winning a match gets you a little bit less clout than the defending team fully winning. But here's the kicker. If you are the defending team and you're in first place, you still get that 6,000 clout, right? Remember how in TriColor battles the goal is to try and make the leading team end up in third? Well, what if the leading team ends up in second? If the leading team ends up in second, they, of course, still get their clout based on turf and their placement. However, if there is say, for example, if Rock was in first place, at least for this Splatfest, Scissors was in second, and Team Paper was in third place, under the defenders. They had less turf than the defenders. If you place third place on attack, but you're on the winning team, you still get a minimum of 5,000 clout, plus how many times you attempted to go for the Ultra Signal, even on a loss if you're in third place. Now, why is this necessarily a problem here if you're the lowest, if you're the third place defender? Well, even if you're the third place defending team, or if you're third place and you're the attacking team, if it is to be believed that the defending team, like in this case it was Team Scissors, on a loss, only gets their clout based on turf and doesn't account for positioning, specifically here, the third place team is still getting more clout than the team who is in second, which is the current team in the lead, which is defense. Right there, that is a little bit of a problem. That would explain why Team Scissors went from first to last. It's because during the TriColor battles, Team Paper, who, by the way, fantastic opponents on all Team Paper. All the Team Paper matches I had were super intense. But all of those matches, even if Team Paper placed third in the TriColor Trip Wars or Rock placed third, they were still getting more clout than the defending team in second place. That shouldn't make any sense. And I feel like that did kind of skew the results a little bit. But I also think part of the reason is because the fact that the results were so close. We didn't really have like that wide database margin that we normally see with, you know, the 2-team Splatfest. With 3-team Splatfest, this gets a little bit, you know, different and crazy. So in terms of the point differentials, is the point differential specifically if you weren't the defending team and you didn't win and you had a team that was below you in third, and technically they won in quotes because the other team won? If each team grabs an Ultra Signal, you're still getting like 7,000-8,000 clout, even if you were in third. Say if each team has an Ultra Signal and only one of you gets first and the other one gets third, you're still getting more clout than the defending team in second place, which really doesn't make sense, and I feel like that did kind of skew the results. And I was actually talking to one of my buddies about this because we suggested is that what you should do point-wise for this, and shout outs to my buddy who played on Team Rock for the EU Splatfest, Ash. Really appreciate his input on this here. But what if you ended up in third? How about even if you won, you got 3,000 points, plus your Ultra Signals if you secured any, plus how many attempts you made at grabbing an Ultra Signal. That way, second place, even with all the clout totals on the defending team added up, is still more than the clout totals in third place for you in this example on the attacking team. I feel like that would make things a little bit more fair. That would make things a little bit more unbiased. And I feel like that's why Big Man, at least in this Splatfest and at least in what we can infer in this data set, goes from first place to last place. Obviously, the pro battles and open battles were a big thing to this, but being thrown into TriColor battles randomly without a team also kind of played a big factor into that. So obviously, as we go forward, that might be something to keep in mind in terms of how we want to change the point system for TriColor Turf Wars. Make it so that your position actually matters. Even if you're the attacking team in third, you should still only get third place clout, even though you technically beat the defending team. At least that's how it is in my opinion, considering the defending team still had more turf than you. And like I even brought this example up to my buddy Ash, where say for example, the one team that wins on attack is really good, right? and they get one ultra signal, or they get both ultra signals, and they're just having a heyday with the defending team. What if the team on the other side that's also attacking has just been getting smoked by the red team all game? Is it fair for the red team that's been smoking this one team all game but not the other? Is it fair for the team that red team has been smoking to get rewarded more? I guess really that's the point I'm trying to bring up with the TriColor Turf War battles. But overall, with all of this kind of in mind, and this being the first Splatfest World Premiere, and we'll see how it goes as Splatoon 3 comes around. We're literally less than a week away now from Splatoon 3. I think TriColor battles, for those who are saying TriColor battles are rigged, I really don't think they are. I really don't think they are. I think TriColor battles need a little bit of a changing in terms of the queuing system, or points are rewarded to the two attacking teams if one of the attacking teams wins and the other technically gets third. Do I think that needs to be changed? Yes. Do I think it's unfair? No. The adjustments will happen as we get more information, as we play Splatoon 3 more, and as the developers kind of add to this wacky, kooky new mode that I absolutely love. I think TriColor battles are just absolutely insane, and with the full team, it's a riot. It really is a riot, and it's quickly becoming one of my favorite modes. To answer everybody's question at the end of the day, are TriColor battles rigged? No. Do I think they're perfect? And do I think they need some changes? Yes, but I would absolutely say they are not rigged. So I want to thank you all for taking your time out of your day to listen to me rant on here for 20 minutes about the TriColor battles and why I think personally it's one of the most fun modes, and it is not rigged. Of course, if you guys enjoyed the video, as you know, we're trying to reach 5,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would be huge if you guys could all hit that subscribe button. I know there's 80% of you Big Man fans out there who haven't done it, and I wanted to see you do it. We will get our revenge! Big Man Sweep will return! So make sure you subscribe, of course, to the channel for more awesome Splatoon 3 content that is going to be coming your way over the next few weeks. And of course, until then, this is CAJ Man 777 signing off. Stay safe, everybody.